the rebellion against the Empire?
Perhaps you referred to the imminent attack on your rebel fleet.
Where is the rebel base?
I didn't know there was anyone willing to stand up against the Empire.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Rebels Reaction. I'm Tyler.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Carl.
We got a whole different crew this time around. Guys, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, man.
We got to hang out at Star Wars Celebration last week. We've had most of the week to kind of adjust, at least us here on the West Coast, back to our normal time zone. Jeremy, was that very hard for you?
At first, yeah, but it's, I got back into the swing of things. I getting up at 4 a.m. Eastern time is 1 a.m. here on the West Coast. I thought it would be a lot harder, but, the Force was with me, so I'm doing good.
That's good. Carl, you only had an hour, but, you had that long drive.
Yeah, the drive wasn't bad. I've noticed that, and you're a father now, you'll see as it goes, but when you're driving by yourself and you don't have to stop for bathroom breaks every 5 minutes or people whining about just being bored, you can really get from Orlando to Birmingham in a pretty good time. It was really not that bad.
Yeah,
but I love my family. I love them if they're listening.
Nice.
I love my family. I don't want to go alone again. But anyway,
sure.
That seemed to be a common refrain throughout the weekend.
Yeah, it was. It was nice. It was nice to not worry about other people.
Yeah, just kind of back to taking care of number one.
Oh, there you go.
All right, so let's jump in. Typically, we do a one-word reaction to the show, but it's Star Wars Celebration, so we're going to focus on the Star Wars Celebration Rebels panel. So I want to hear your guys' one-word reaction as you kind of walked out of that panel. Carl and I were in the live session. Jeremy, you were in one of the streaming stages because you decided to sleep in.
I did. I was a wild man.
I know. Carl and I braving the line at 4:30 in the morning. All right,
Yeah.
Carl, your one-word reaction.
My one-word reaction is emotional. And I know you guys are more professional sounding than me. You don't have that Southern twang, so you sound about 20 points smarter IQ-wise. But I want to hear some emotion in your voice today, okay? This was an emotional panel. I want to hear it because this is a podcast. It's not TV. So I want to hear some emotion, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Oh, man.
Jeremy, your one-word reaction.
Bye. No, it sounds horrible.
That's not what I have in the show notes here.
No, just like it truly is bye. It's sad to hear it coming to an end, and so it was a sense of. I don't know about you guys, but in the panel itself, and then of course the press conference that followed it seemed like to me that it was the beginning of a long goodbye. And as we go through the season 4, I think we're going to have a lot of last moments, last interactions with characters. So it really felt like the beginning of that process. So my one-word reaction is bye.
Bye. Well, I think an apt one at that. My one-word reaction was just fun. It was fun to be in line with a bunch of Rebels fans that early in the morning, questioning why we weren't getting in at 5 a.m. Filoni, the couple panels that we saw him in, dude is a character. He just plays the crowd. So that was fun. The announcements, the exclusive content, all the kids that were in that panel, that was probably the most younglings I saw all weekend.
Yeah.
I think Disney did the right thing, or the Star Wars, Lucasfilm, whoever organized it. This was, probably the third biggest panel, but they got everybody wiped out on Thursday and Friday, and I got up an hour earlier than I normally did and realized I didn't need to, but I was still glad I did just to be safe. But I think that allowed a lot of kids to be able to come on Saturday morning when some other younger people or younger adults could get there Thursday and Friday, get tired on the others and get there. So I thought they planned it well, and it was great to see kids there.
Yeah, and for me, just being on one of the streaming venues, I was in the, what was I in, the Galaxy stage, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Wherever I was where it was streaming, it was a lot of kids, and so it really added to the atmosphere. It was a lot of fun, and very different from a lot of the other panels we all had attended throughout the the celebration.
Totally. And I think that speaks to just the dynamic of the show itself and how it's adults like it, but I think kids really love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so let's jump into the big three. Usually this is the big three plot points of the Rebels episode for that week, but we're going to talk big three things that were interesting, informative, anything that just really jumped out to you at the panel. Carl, let's start with you.
Okay. The first thing I think was just listening to Tia Sarkar, who is the voice of Sabine, and her just discussing that Darksaber episode. She even commented that was the best thing that she had done as an actor. She said it was, was pushed to emotional places. Emotion, that's my word. She was pushed to emotional places she had never been as a voice actor, she said, but then she even went on to say, even as an actor, that was one of the best things she had done. So it was really interesting to hear that. And when I do the reviews, I write the reviews. Tyler and Christine do the audio. But so for those who have read my reviews, if you haven't, you're missing out on some of the best prose.
Sure.
It's some of the best writing on the entire
since
site.
Twain, probably in America. But no, it's I'm sitting there and I'm watching it and I'm rewatching. I'm just playing it kind of in a loop, or I'm like if I'm talking about something specific, I'll rewind and look at that. But when it got to that scene at the end with her and Kanan, and her just kind of letting everything out, admitting what was kind of holding her back, her feelings, emotions that she had to just sort of exercise or have a cathartic revelation about what's going on, the turmoil inside of her. I was watching that over and over, and I mean, I'm kind of a crier. I was not a crier till I married my wife, and then having kids made it even more emotional. For instance, if I watch Meet the Robinsons, and I sit through that whole movie, and then you get to the end of it, and you get what's his name? I forgot his name, but the guy that sings with Matchbox 20. Rob. Anyway. When he starts that song, let it go, let it roll right off your shoulders. Don't you know the hardest part is over? I mean, tears are coming down my cheek. Okay, so I cry every time. Yeah, wow, if I watch it right away, immediately after that, I don't. It dries up, and then I have to go away for a few months and come back and catch it. But I say all that to say, I got more emotional. I'd watch that in with Sabine and when she was, I've done, anyway, I'm drawing blanks because I got too emotional about stuff.
With Sabine and Kanan, right?
Kanan,
Sabine and Kanan.
yes.
When they're training.
Yeah.
Yes. I would almost tear up the more I watch that, and it just got to me, especially they had that father-daughter relationship. So, it was really interesting to hear her talk about that, and even saying that for that particular recording session, they had to do just her and Freddie Prinze Jr., who does Kanan's voice. They were kind of doing it privately instead of with the group, just because she was having to go deep in there. So I thought that was really good, and I felt that. I think it came through in her performance, and I felt it as I watched it over and over again. And it was not the best episode, I would say, but it was a really good moment. I mean, Twin Sons had a great moment, and the finale was really good, but this was right there underneath those. And I think it really sets up season 4. So I thought that was really something I enjoyed hearing, and I could tell was true from her listening at the panel.
Well, that's the word, right? True.
Yeah.
I think that performance that she gave was there is a genuineness to it that's hard to pull off in animation, and it was great to see her talk about it, and talk about this real place that she was able to get this sort of truth. And I agree. I think it's one of the more emotional moments of the series, really. So, that one struck me as well. For me, it was Ahsoka Lives. Ahsoka lives, and then Ahsoka lives. It was the way that Filoni played with us throughout.
Yes.
If you weren't able to watch the panel, it was Filoni. He came out with a shirt that just said "Ahsoka lives?" ? He changed it at some point with the exclamation point, and then by the time he got into the press conference after it was over, it was back to question mark. And You know, I sat down last night just prepping for this episode, and I actually didn't go to Rebels. I went back to the Clone Wars, and I watched the first 2 episodes of the 3-episode arc of the Mortis arc, and trying to make some connections with Ahsoka and what happened there, and then of course what happened between her and Darth Vader at the end of season 2. I really think that we are going to see some form of Ahsoka. It's probably, my guess is she is the wolf in the trailer. That's what I'm thinking. So yeah, you know, if you look at Filoni's interest in the character of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, and some of the comments he's made previously just about Ahsoka, I don't think she is as dead, but I don't think she's quite like we imagine her to be. So that was really just him playing with us and toying with us. And I know, you know, Tyler, that was something his playfulness is something you loved. And so that, for me, when it came to Ahsoka, that's what I really enjoyed. That was sort of like one of my highlights, just picking up on that t-shirt change. It was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that until you said something when we finally all were out of the panel and talking about it. So I had to go back and watch. And then when I got home, because that was when Christine and I talked about the end of season 4, or it's 3, all she cared about was whether Ahsoka lived, and that was the entire. So I had to pull that up and show her. Yeah. And that was probably the number one thing for me. It was fun to see the character, the voice actors in person, but I really hadn't seen a whole lot of live interactions with Dave Filoni, and he's just totally coy with the crowd. He's having fun playing. He knows what we all want, but won't quite give it to us.
Yeah.
And just kind of the way the actors, as they were trying to talk about what was maybe coming, and everyone kind of looking out of the side of their eyes at Dave, trying to decide if they were saying too much.
They were safe or not.
Yeah. And he's just like, oh, you've trained for this for so long. But it was funny. I really love that. Anything else, Carl, that really jumped out to you?
One that just struck me is that I hate Jeremy as much as I love Jeremy. No, because I was sitting there like, wolf. What is this? Is so unlike Star Wars. That wolf in the trailer. What's the wolf? And then Jeremy comes up with, well, it could be Ahsoka, and that makes the most sense. I don't know if this, but that makes the most sense right now. And so I'm just jealous of Jeremy is what it really is, that he comes up with these great insights of things that I've thought about and not had to come up with a good answer for myself. So that's why, yes, you are. That's why I am like number 20 on the totem pole. So, but anyway, but no, speaking of Filoni, and he was, you know, people in line were like, yeah, we're going to see this because we like Filoni. We've seen him in other things. He's just entertaining. Like you give, you know, all the big name people the same topic as they go to a panel, and Filoni will probably make it more entertaining for the crowd. So, but the flip side of that was he actually did get emotional. Hey, there's that word again. He got emotional.
There it is.
When he had to stand up and make that announcement. You can kind of see a little lump in his throat, and he had to swallow hard when he made that announcement about it being the last season, and the audience groaned, and I'm a little down about it. I usually think about 5 seasons is about right. I mean, you can really get a good, you know, build the characters, do some arcs, and then have a good closing within about 5 seasons. So I was a little taken aback with this one. I kind of want one more. I think would be good, but we're getting what we're getting, and that's good that he at least knows that it's coming and prepare us for it. He can prepare it and do it the way he wants to do it. So, but just seeing how much it meant to him, how, you know, he said it's probably the best thing the animation department has ever done, in his opinion. So it was great to just see that it does mean a lot to him, because it, you know, if people are up there, and it comes through in the work. If somebody's up there just going through the numbers and doesn't care about what the project they're working on, it's not going to be very good. And that's why this is such a good quality. It's because it's run by a Star Wars fan. You know, he was a Star Wars fan before he worked there. So it's great that, you know, that he has that much invested in it and he cares about it, and it just comes through. And that's why we like it as much as we do. How about you, Jeremy?
Yeah.
What was something else you liked?
You know, I want to kind of piggyback on that. Just, you know, you're talking about your word emotion, and you know, he is. There's this sense with Filoni that he is this. He was sort of like the protege of Lucas. You know, he's this guy that Lucas really poured some time into, trained. You know, it's almost this master Padawan feeling. It's truly is sometimes, and how he's entertaining, but it is obvious that he has built a very special relationship with the voice cast. And I would imagine that he's built a special relationship with everyone involved with Rebels. I mean, we look at the voice cast, but there's so many people involved, from the writers to the, you know, the animators and all that stuff. So that was what really struck me, was the emotion of it, but just there is this obvious connection between the cast, and it looks like this family. They even reference that. And we've seen that before, but I think there was a little more weight to it because they were announcing this final season coming up as this 4th season. And so that one really kind of stood out to me. Do you guys, here's my question though, is Filoni's going to be done with Rebels after this season. In fact, in the press conference, they were talking about how they most likely have finished all they've done all the episodes, they've done all the voice work. You know, they're just in post with all this stuff. So the actors are kind of done. And do you think Filoni will move on to like live action stuff, or do you think he'll stay in the world of animation that they have? You know, it's obvious that there's some sort of project coming. Is he the animation guy at Lucasfilm, or do you think they'll open a door for him to do something else?
I think he probably has the option to do what he wants.
Yeah.
At this point, I think if he wants to stay in animation, then he can stay and continue to develop some great show that we'll all love. Or that rumor has continued to persist that there's going to be something live action.
Yeah.
And you guys have talked about it on the main show. As they kind of start to maybe take a little bit of a step back in the coming years from releasing a movie so often, that I would think, because he has the most experience as kind of the TV guy, that at the very least he'd have a hand in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think so too. I think he probably is, because, you know, what, mid-season, last season, didn't they announce that he was no longer kind of like the day-to-day hands-on, you know, producer-director? He was more of an overseer, and that sort of put somebody else there to maybe learn, to maybe do the next animated series as the main person, and allow Dave to go on to live action, which I would love, because, you know, growing up, movies were always when I was a kid, movies were always better than TV, just because TV, you could go for 10 seasons, 20 seasons, like Gunsmoke or whatever the long shows, MASH, but the characters really never were dynamic. They always ended at the, the thing about 70s and 80s TV shows, people would get engaged, get to the wedding, and call the wedding off at the altar every time, because we had to be at the same position at the end of the episode when we started, so people could come in. And slowly but surely, with shows like The X-Files and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and different things, and even up to 24 now, people started realizing that when you make... You can tell a great story and develop characters and have them change and do, you know, what you cannot do in movies with serial television, or, you know. And so I think that would be a great place for Star Wars to go. And I think Dave Filoni has proven that he can come up with, you know, quality work, great story arcs, very interesting characters. And he does it on a cartoon, what we might call kids show, but he does it at such a level that adults get into it and like it. And it is very important stuff that's going on in the Star Wars universe. So when you give him full carte blanche to say, okay, now we're going to maybe make it for a little more adult audience, I think he's proven that he can do that. So I think that would be the perfect spot, and I think that's where he's going.
Yeah.
Totally. We can only hope. I think for me, then seeing just the actors talking about the growth of their characters was another thing that jumped out. Freddie Prinze Jr. talked about kind of the different teachers he felt like Kanan had over the course of each of the 3 seasons we've gotten so far, and how in this last season, the Bendu was his teacher. And I know, Carl, you kind of, as we were talking after, kind of refuted that a little bit. What did you think about his comment there?
Well, that he was his favorite character, and I was excited about the Bendu when it started, and the whole point of somebody being in between. But just as far as my opinion is, he never really was in between. He was really on the light side for most of the entire run of the season, till maybe the season finale. But even in his anger, where he was sort of lightning bolt striking everybody, regardless of what side they were on, it ultimately helped the light side people escape when they were in, were in dire straits. So I don't think he was ever really, to me, he's never been in the middle like he was supposed to be. And I was just disappointed in that. I think it's a great concept, and they can always, give us more fill in later. But just the way they executed it, I don't think he was down the middle like he was, like, at least to my satisfaction. That's all I would say about that.
Yeah, totally. Jeremy, anything else before we move on?
Just in terms of, like, we were talking about, what were the kind of the big moments from the panel that really stood out to us. I mean, there were so many, from the voice actors and what Dave Filoni said. But I think one of the things is the sense of how the fans are really, in almost a comical way, how they really like Callus, and there's, I can't remember what that hashtag is, but it's like
hot Callus.
Yeah,
or
hot
like
Callus with the,
which was
with the hair.
confusing. It was confusing because I saw that. I saw it trending. I went to my local Asian restaurant and ordered some hot Callus, and they didn't know what I was talking about. And only when I got into the panel did I realize what it was. But it confused me for a little while.
I'm so sorry, Carl. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I talk about arcs, though. I think Callus is a character that is for goodness, for kids. I love this character, and here's why. He is a guy that was on the wrong side, and he makes a conscious decision to change his course. And I think for children to see a character do that is important. Normally what you see in shows like this is the bad guys are the bad guys. And they stay that way the whole way. And this is a situation where this was one of the leading villains from season 1. And, throughout the course of the series so far, he's slowly changed. And I thought that was really important. Jokes aside, I think he is a really good character. And I'll go so far as to say there's this role model aspect to Callus that I really appreciated. His escape was a little kind of crazy and silly at the end of season 3, but it is what it is, and he's now on board with the rebels, and I dig it totally. But those were the 3 things: Ahsoka, just the connection between the cast, and then Callus, were just the joking about him. But in the joking, there's this realization that he is an important character and a very special character to Rebels. So those were the 3 things from the panel that I really took away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what we see of him in the trailer, looks awfully similar to a lot of the characters we see in Rogue One running around at like General Draven.
Yeah,
almost the exact same getup, just with those awesome chops.
That's right. That's right. Hot Callus.
Yeah, hot Callus. Carl, anything else?
Just when Tia was talking about where they might go, there might possibly be a lot of Mandalorian people, which I'm excited about the Mandalorians. I think that is a great, just one of those side things that has just grown up on its own and never really been explored in movies, but yet has a big following. So I'm excited to see. And I think we've seen one of the people, I'm not going to spoil it, but I think we've seen one of the people she's alluding to in the first episode of season 4, but she said others. So I didn't know. My mind went, when she said surprise, and you might be surprised who we turn to and where we go. I didn't even know if maybe Boba Fett might come back. Maybe I'm reaching on that, or not come back. It'd be kind of his first appearance, time-wise. But I would just be interested in seeing if he would show up. I would like that, but I'm just kind of curious about who's going to show up Mandalorian-wise.
Yeah, Boba Fett was the first one that came to mind for me as well. And it's in the room, it seemed like that was a lot of people's sense as well. I think the last really big thing for me was seeing that first episode of season 4.
Yeah.
You don't get that unless you're in the panel.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was really exciting to really get something genuinely exclusive, whereas most everything else was broadcast live.
Yeah.
So let's kind of transition then into talking just in the most general of terms. We don't want to spoil anything about the first episode of season 4, part 1 of Heroes of Mandalore. Jeremy, what were just kind of your just general thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's obvious just from the tone there's some similarities to tone from past episodes and past seasons, but I would definitely say it seems like we're going on a much darker journey that yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is that with past seasons, say season 2, season 3, you would have an incredibly dark moment, and then you would have another episode that would come in that would bring some levity to the show.
Yeah.
And I think rightfully so. I mean, I think a lot of people have complained about that and said, well, this is filler. This is a filler episode. I can see that argument. I can understand that argument. But I think because of the demographic the show's trying to reach, it makes a lot of sense to have some lighter episodes. The way this season seems to be starting is it's on a darker trajectory. Now, you could have said that with season 2, but I think with knowing this is the final season, based on the comments that Dave Filoni made in the press conference, it looks like we are in for a little bit of a darker experience. Not that the whole thing will be this drab, depressing thing, but I do think the show is growing with its audience. You know, if kids started it when they were 9 years old, they're a little bit older now as we're going into this 4th season. So I think, I think there's going to be some interesting things that we're going to see, but definitely the tone of this episode was much, much darker than I was thinking it would be. And, for me personally, Kanan is someone that I'm really focusing in on, and I want to see how this character develops. Freddie Prinze Jr. talked a little bit about this character's journey, not only in the panel but the press conference. He's going to make some decisions about the Force and his place with the Force, and I think Ezra will too. I got the sense, though, based on the press conference, that Ezra's dabbling in the dark side has already happened. That was season 3 or season 2, really.
Yeah.
And that he is becoming a much more selfless person. And he's moving on to, do you guys remember the comment in the season finale? I can't remember if it's part 1 or part 2. I think it's part 1, where Ezra basically says to Kanan, I need you. I know you don't think you can teach me anymore about the Force, but that's not why I necessarily the only reason why I'm with you. I'm with you because you're teaching me how to be a man. Mm-hmm. You're teaching me how to be, humble and selfless and all these things that make the Jedi so special. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if Ezra's sort of trajectory into the dark side is done. I think Maul was a big part of that. And now we're going to see a maturation for Ezra as well as Kanan. And I think for me personally, that's what I'm most invested in and interested in, with one exception, and that's Sabine. And of course, if Ahsoka shows up as Wolf, cool. But we don't know that yet. So if Ahsoka shows up, obviously that will be very interesting. But I don't know. Carl, I know you had some thoughts just about all that. What do you think?
I did, because I agree with you. Season 3, he started off going dark. It appeared he did some things, especially in that first episode, and then kind of rebelled in latter episodes against Kanan until Kanan sort of, got back up on his horse and, sort of like, I'm still your teacher, your mentor, and I'm here for you. And slowly he kind of came back to the light. But there was a moment in that season 4, episode 1, where it was echoed season 3, episode 1, where Ezra in a pinch used the dark side, or used to manipulate the driver of the ATST. And in season 4, there was something very similar, and it looked like for a second he was thinking about it. And
interesting.
And something else came in before he actually had to make a decision of, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to do it. Something came in and sort of relieved the tension for him. But there was just a moment where I think he was tempted because of dire circumstances for people that he cared about. So I'm with you, but they're giving me hints that maybe we're not quite done with it. So I don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I think for me, just the overall intensity of the episode, but almost felt like some of the humor was forced, especially with Ezra within the episode, and then kind of the heartache that I think is sort of foreboding throughout the entire the rest of the season, and I think that ties into even Hera's voiceover within the trailer, and how she's kind of reflecting on her time in this crew with her family. And I'll be just really curious to see it. To me, it doesn't seem like everybody's going to survive. A few will, as we know in Rogue One. And I'm curious to see how they'll handle that with this being a kid's show, but obviously adult fans as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, in the press conference, I think it was Christian Harloff on Collider's Jedi Council. I think it was him that asked the question. I'd have to go back and listen to it, but he asked Filoni for season 3, in the press conference for season 3. He said, you know, will there be Emperor Vader? And Filoni said, you know, unequivocally no. Like, I mean, they will not show up in this season. Harloff, being really good, smart, sharp guy, he said, okay, this season, can you say that there will be no presence of Vader and the Emperor at all in season 4? And Filoni just kind of, you know, smiled, laughed, you know, whatever. He's like, I can't say that. And so as we, you know, he did say, you know, we do get Thrawn a lot more, but you know, I think we will see Vader and the Emperor. I don't need a lot at all, but I wonder, as we look ahead, and of course my fascination and my focus is sort of the mystical side of Star Wars, and it's the Force and those that use it. And I wonder if Ezra and Kanan do not make it out, if it's because of the involvement of Vader and the Emperor. And so that's dark stuff, but you know, right. Tyler, based on what you said, just the voiceover, you're like, I don't know, you know, I don't know if, you know, with Hera's voiceover in the trailer, like it seems like this finality, you know, in tone to what she was saying. So
well, there's also that line in the line that Kanan gave in the trailer. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
You know, Ezra, we are the balance, Ezra, and the Force has meant us to be here, or we were meant to be Jedis, so we could be here when the Thal needs us most. And you know what happens when we're balancing the Force? What happens to the people who are balancing it? You know, so that kind of leads to that. You know, maybe they don't make it, and I'm like Tyler was saying, that voiceover makes you wonder if she's just telling it from her perspective, and she and Chopper, who we've seen in Rogue One, but no one else, are they the only two that get out, you know? So I'm curious about that in season 4 and seeing her promotion and those things happen, but, you know, how do they end it with all the other characters?
Yeah, it seems like we're looking at, obviously because of Rogue One, we know Chopper makes it. We know Hera makes it. And in one of the other panels with Dave Filoni, they showed on the screen an image of Rex in Rebel Commando indoor outfit, which nothing was said, just image was shown accidentally. You know, they played that up, and you know, you wonder if they will go ahead and, you know, state that somehow Rex is going to, you know, make it out as well. So I mean, we know that maybe 3 characters are going to make it, but I don't know how I feel about, you know, losing a massive amount of a cast. It does make sense though for the story and for Star Wars. So I think for me, I don't know about you guys, as I admire Dave Filoni and company, the whole crew that's been doing Rebels. I admire them as storytellers. I think they've told some of the best Star Wars stories. Specifically, I think Twilight of the Apprentice is one of the best Star Wars stories told. Yeah. And I'm really curious what they're going to do here. I think for me, going into this 4th season, that's one of the biggest things I'm going to delight in, is watching how they play this out for us, the audience. And I'm really excited about that.
And, you know, when they showed that image, though, I didn't know, you know, Rex is a clone, so it could be any of them.
Could be, it could be Wolf, Gregor. We don't know.
I want to say it said Wolf on the card where they showed it up there. It said wolf camo, I think. So, I mean, it could be Rex. We hope it's Rex.
I paid attention to that because I looked at the other descriptions on a lot of the other images they were showing in that panel, and a lot of them had wolf in that same spot, and then another description. Okay. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Anything else you're looking forward to in season 4, Carl?
Yeah, I've just as a commercial for other podcasts we might do, we're going to be doing Thrawn on the Force Discourse coming up soon. But in reading Thrawn, I was really surprised and actually enjoyed how much Rebels was represented in that novel. You know, I could see them borrowing Thrawn into Rebels. I didn't think it would go back the other way necessarily, but it did, and so it just made me curious about that. I hope to see more connections in season 4 to other parts of Star Wars. And we've already mentioned Rogue One has brought those in. So Rebels is important, and they're giving it respect by adding it into, you know, I guess what you might call upper echelon parts of the media. So I'm just hoping to see more of those type of connections. I'm kind of curious about Thrawn. The novels made me think that he's not such an evil guy necessarily. He's just very loyal to the Emperor. But it's left open that in the right circumstances, he may not stay loyal to the Emperor. I would hope that would maybe happen in Rebels. You know, that's how maybe the people who do escape. I don't think so. I think he's going to stay loyal through that season of Rebels and really be the guy that crushes them, unfortunately. But he's a very formidable adversary, so I understand why he would be the one to do it. So I like Thrawn. I hate the fact that he's probably going to do that to the people that I've grown to care about. But I think it's just going to be an exciting season to see how they play it all out. How about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I think Thrawn's such an interesting character for me, and to really see his development not only in Rebels, but I'm almost done with the novel. And then the kind of teasing of him in Empire's End as well. I'll just be really curious to see his overall arc, and that really kind of speaking to how just my appreciation for the story group and what they're doing with just the connections across so many different mediums that enhance the story overall. And I'm just excited to see how those gaps, kind of like you were talking about, Carl, are continue to fill in and those connections are made. I love that, and it's been really fun to see those. So as we kind of look to wrap up here, let's just kind of talk bottom line, not only the Rebels panel itself, but the presence of Rebels at Star Wars Celebration, and maybe even just a little bit of your experience, if you want to throw that in too, of the weekend overall. Carl, let's start with you.
I'm getting a little emotional because it's over.
I know.
Let me get my breath here. But
goodness.
anyway, I would just say that we need to savor every moment we have here in the 4th season. You know, a lot of times you get to a place where you're looking ahead, or you're worried about, oh no, it's ending, in many different parts of life. But we know it's ending. It's been a good ride so far, so we trust the person who's in charge. So let's just enjoy every moment of it. And I think that, especially the way he talked about not being able to end the Clone Wars, but he's being able to end Rebels, you know, I'm kind of hoping that there's even more on the line in every episode where we don't sort of take a break, because he's got to get all these storylines wrapped up. And I've seen other series that have wrapped up and you're getting closer to the end, like Lost or whatever, and like, hey, we only got 2 episodes left and we've got 100 mysteries we haven't resolved. How we got to get there? So I'm hoping he takes the time and does a good job with every one of them, so that we end up having just a really good series finale, like some of the great ones like MASH. You know, if you're old like me, I think Bob Newhart, the Newhart show, had a great one, but you'd have to be real old to understand why that was such a great ending of the 80s, the one that ran in the 80s, because it harkened back to a second episode series he had in the 70s. But anyway, to fall in the lines of that, or will it be something like Lost, that has an ending where you're like, you know, we invested all that time and we had that ending. So I hope that it's a good ending. I expect it to be, and I'm just going to enjoy it and not sit there and look at the calendar and go, oh, that's all we have left. Just as I'm going through, I'm going to try to take time to smell the roses. So I'm looking forward to that, and I just enjoyed the celebration as a whole. Just, Jeremy and I have been friends for years, but just we're on different coasts basically now. So seeing Jeremy again was great. Meeting Tyler in person was great. And then people that I had never known, we were giving out just little souvenirs and stickers to people just to introduce ourselves as Unmistakably Star Wars, get people to possibly listen. And if you're listening because of a sticker I gave you, hey, how you doing? But I just hope that people, are there. But I enjoy just kind of, by doing that, would start conversations with people that I would not have bothered to talk to or felt confident enough to talk to otherwise, and had good conversations with people because we had something in common and met some really great people. So I think that was one of the best parts of Star Wars Celebration. And I'm not a good extrovert person. I don't meet people well, but just kind of having to do it, it actually, but it paid off, and I was glad I did it. So that was the takeaway I had of just enjoying that weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree with it. Man, this is rare. I'm agreeing with almost everything you said.
Wow.
Savor it. Yeah, absolutely savor it. I think we're in a really special time, and I think this could be a very special story. And as we go into this fourth season, it's just the opportunity is there to tell a story that's really impactful to adults and children alike. And Dave Filoni said in the press conference after the panel, he said, when Star Wars is working, that's exactly what it's doing. It's for everyone. It's for the family. Adults gain a lot from it, as well as children. That's what makes it so special. And I think we are potentially in a place where we can, experience this fourth season, and that it is special. And, that kind of like rolls into like the celebration experience too, in a way. There's something fun about getting together with people that love the same thing you love. And, it's one thing to watch the streaming of Star Wars Celebration. And I think it's something, I've done with when it was in England, in London. And I enjoyed it. But there is something meeting people from all over that are Star Wars fans that you wouldn't probably meet otherwise. And I think, Carl, like you, that experience is really special. And it just gives us an opportunity, Unmistakably Star Wars, to meet some people that listen to the show, but also meet the artists. You get opportunities to meet, the voice talent, the makers of these things. And that's really special. And so I'm just very thankful I got the opportunity to go out there and enjoy that. So for me, that was kind of my celebration experience, but I'm really excited for Rebels season 4. I think we're in store for something really cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a heck of a ride for these last group of episodes. Yeah. I think overall, it didn't really feel like there was a huge presence of Rebels at Celebration.
Yeah.
So much focus was put on 40th anniversary, remembering Carrie Fisher, Last Jedi. But there was a solid group of people that are just so invested in Rebels. And that was fun to see the cosplay, the intertwining in other panels, like the animation one we went to right at the start of the weekend, where they talked about Rex and Maul throughout all the animation that he was in, and just really getting to see the families, not only the family of the group of people that are making this, but the families that attended. So like we talked about at the top of the show, all those kids and their parents, that's been such a great way to connect as a family over Star Wars. And just the broader family that we are as Star Wars fans that both of you guys mentioned, and getting to hang out with you guys for a weekend with no real family responsibility.
We're horrible, aren't we?
Maybe. Please don't judge us too much. But the opportunity to make new friends, getting to meet people that listen to the show that we've met on Twitter, and then just the people we bump into in line. I don't think there was ever a point where I was sitting in line, and normally I don't really like to sit in line.
Yeah.
But you could strike up a conversation with anyone.
Yep.
And it could go for 15, 20 minutes at least.
Yeah.
That never happens in my life. I just so that was really fun.
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap for this episode?
No, I think that's it. I think we have the long wait now, right?
Yeah.
Probably late September, early October. I don't think we've gotten a date yet on season 4's premiere, but now we just kind of hunker down. We read a lot of books. Thrawn's out there. Rebel Rising comes out May 2nd, I think, maybe 4th. So we got that rolling out, and of course we have Inferno Squad this summer. So it seems like comics and books are kind of what will be taking up our time as we wait for trailers and of course season 4. So we got the long wait coming.
Yeah, that'll be the hard part. I've never seen the first episode of a season, and then had to wait for 8 months.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. All right, well, that wraps up this episode of Rebels Reaction. You can check us out on the Twitterverse at Unmistakably SW. Carl is at Hassler Carl. Jeremy is at B Scott, and I'm at Tyler Sharp. For this episode of Rebels Reaction, I'm Tyler.
I'm Carl.
I'm Jeremy.
Until next time, may the Force be with you.